when we did our plan, it was intended to be done in 5 phases. And in between phases, there's going to be a review of how well we're doing, because shellfish is a part of it. And so shellfish hopefully can reduce the amount of sewering we have to do. At the end of each phase, we're going to do a review and may modify what goes in phase 2. It's called adaptive management. And so there's 5 phases. Hopefully, if the shellfish do their job, we don't have to build all 5. But we started with the most critical area, and one that would have a fairly immediate impact on the Mashpee River, because as you remember, the Mashpee River is where all this started in terms of concerns about the water quality. And so the sewer system for the first phase, I don't know if you're seeing this on the screen, but it's in pink. And so that's basically the east side of the river from Dunkin' Donuts and Town Hall all the way down to the intersection of the area of Simons Narrows Road and Mashpee Neck Road, and then along Route 28 from Summerwood Condos to Sea Oaks. And so that's sort of the general dimensions of the first phase. And, phase 2 on that plan shows up in blue. And that's where we do the rest of Mashpee Neck and start working on the west side of the river, because there's a big problem. There's no way to get any kind of shellfish mitigation for the Quashnet River watershed, so that's going to have to be sewered. So that's in phase 2. And phase 3 extends, a couple other places up to the ponds, Santuit Pond in particular, and they're on their way up there, and down around Aquay Bay. And let's see, phase 4 is in yellow on that plan, if you're seeing it, and orange is phase 5, which we hope never happens. By the way, a piece of phase 2 is also in Forestdale, Sandwich. One thing I should mention is that as far as Papaneset Bay goes, which by the way is the most eutrophic estuary in the state, meaning it's got the worst problem with nitrogen and the algae and all that, we have signed an intermunicipal agreement with the towns of Sandwich and Barnstable, which are also part of the watershed for Papaneset Bay, that basically, number one, it defines how much of the reduction each town is responsible for. In other words, it actually does it in reverse. It allows each town to contribute so much nitrogen to the estuary, all gauged to that ideal number. And then everything over that they have to eliminate. So that was done a couple of years ago, and the other part of it is that the 3 towns all commit to actually doing what's needed to do to meet those targets. So we started working on one with Falmouth, but they're sort of like way down the road in terms of their side of the bay and sewering, so that hasn't gone anywhere yet. But in any case.
So
when we say watershed nitrogen plan, it included big chunks of Falmouth, Sandwich, and Barnstable in our plan, because they're in the estuaries, watersheds of the estuaries.
All right.
Yeah, as I said, phase 1 basically runs from Dalcina's old house and Dunkin' Donuts and Town Hall down along Meeting House Road to Route 28, and then south from there to the intersection of Simons Narrows and Mashpee Neck Road. It picks up everything in between the Clipper Ship Village and Summerwood and Sea Oaks condos along 28. Those are sort of the east and west ends of the project along on 28. And it's all taken to a treatment plant that's in the final design stages, that's located next to the transfer station on town property there. It's about, I think it's 10 or 13 acres of property. The way the commission has set up the project on that site, we've maintained a minimum of 150 foot of forest all around the north and east sides, and then 200 feet along Asher's Path, where we actually have our closest neighbors. So retaining a big forest buffer there, and it's going to be reinforced by fencing, some of it solid fencing, and also understory landscaping vegetation, rhododendrons or hollies or whatever, that will, again, help create a natural screen around the project so nobody has to look at it. Although, you know, it's not going to be that ugly. It's just, it's not something you want to think about all the time.
Yeah.
Did a preliminary design that was completed last January, 2020, that came up to what's called a 30% design. In other words, it's not 30% of the system, it's 30% level of detail on the whole, you know, project. And what's being worked on now at this point right now, it's due in a couple of weeks, is 75% level of detailed drawings. And those are what we need to find out what the cost is going to be. And our consultants, GHD, produce the plans and they produce the cost estimates. And that number will go into town meeting article this spring, May, or whenever we have the meeting, to keep our fingers crossed, hope to get approved by the voters and get us started on the first piece of the system after 33 years. And all those 33 years, things have been getting worse and worse. So, you know, the longer you wait, the worse it gets, and also the more expensive it gets. So, time to bite the bullet and do it. Well, here's the thing. I mean, we are in the process of trying to get a zero-interest loan from the state. In other words, you know, you borrow this money. If you go out to the market, it's, you know, whatever the number is. In order to get the zero-interest loan, we had to go through a process, which actually started last August, when GHD filed what's called a project evaluation form, PEF. That's the first step in starting to get approved for state SRF loans. Again, that was done last August, and what happened as a result of that is that the state reviewed all the projects that came in for this round of funding that would be starting their 22 fiscal year. The preliminary rankings came out. We were rated 12th in the state and first on the Cape. And Gottlieb, who used to run that program, says, no problem, we're in. There's no doubt that we're going to get the loan if we go through the rest of the steps. The next steps are you need a town meeting vote. You'll need a ballot question approved because it's borrowing, and it's a 2/3 vote at town meeting again because it's borrowing. I'll just say once that gets approved, no ifs, the engineers will be submitting what's called 90% drawings, almost to the final level of detail, to the state in July. And once the state has indicated whether they need any little changes or, you know, we're all set. The 100% drawings, basically the construction drawings, will be ready in November when we propose to go out to bid for the project. And so that's the schedule. And, you know, like I said, we've been at this for a long time, and at least personally, I miss my scallops, and it's been 30 years since I've seen one. So what we know and the reason we did the first phase where it is, number one, it's almost entirely year-round housing, so it's not like, you know, you're just taking a little bit out of the watershed. These are mostly full-time housing units, and they're also all within a 2-year groundwater travel time of the Mashpee River. So once they hook up to the sewer, all the septage that's been going, you know, into the river will disappear. So you'll start seeing improvement in the river quality, again, within 2 years of when the system is completed and people are hooked up to it. You know, the when thing is dependent on the voters. By the way, Hamlin Pond, Jehu Pond, Little Great River, that's an area where Rick York and Shellfish people think that they can achieve 100% of the reduction we need in those small watersheds with cohogs, and they're going to work on that, and they're seeing some results already. Mashpee River, Quashnet River, you know, Papaneset Bay, they can get some reduction, like maybe 50% of the Mashpee River load. The oysters that are out there. The oysters are growing great in the river because there's a lot of nitrogen, and then as a result, algae in the river. So there's a lot of food for the oysters, you know. I can imagine and dream of a day when there's not enough algae food for the oysters. That'll mean we've cleaned it up. Again, this is something that's been an issue in the town for a long time. Well, it relates to our quality of life, and you know, obviously a lot of the town's economy is based on the summer people and visitors that, you know, like to have clean bays and to recreate on and fish in, and you know, again, a lot of people, you know, do or did shellfishing for a living in the past too. That's, you know, hopefully going to be coming back, and I just say that you know, we all I'm assuming we all want to clean up, you know, bad stuff, and this is bad stuff, and you know, we're about to take the first step cleaning it up, and I appreciate everybody's support for doing that.